might have heard of the story of Nicky Verstappen, a missing boy whose disappearance and its aftermath turned into a decades-long mystery, and its discovery shocked the entire nation. In 1998, a group of children from High Bloom visited the Highcop camp in Brunssummerheide for their annual summer camp. The event was going in full swing when a tragedy took over them with the sudden disappearance of their 11-year-old peer Nicky Verstappen. The search party immediately set out to find Nicky, unaware that this was the start of one of the most prolonged cold cases in the Netherlands' history. The discovery of Nicky's corpse shook the entire Netherlands to the core. Although the Dutch police and the investigators built up a solid interrogative timeline and rounded up several suspects and leads during the investigations, the case remained unsolved for a long time. It got shelved among the other cold cases, but there was finally an answer to the mysterious demise of poor Nicky Verstappen 20 years later, finally giving justice to Nicky's memory. Nicky Verstappen was born on the 30th of March 1987 in High Bloom, Limburg, Holland. He was inducted into the local school of this native area, where he was studying until his murder. As per the tradition of Dutch schools, Nicky's school also arranged a summer camp every year where the chaperones and teachers would escort the students to camping sites where they would spend 1 or 2 days having picnics. On the 8th of August 1998, Nicky took off with his 36 classmates and 15 supervisors towards the camping site of Highcop in Brunssummerheide. This was his second time participating in the summer camp, as he had once gone before in 1996. Nicky enjoyed every bit of the day with his friends, unaware of the terrible fate he was about to face very soon. Monday, the next day, Nicky Verstappen had an argument with the 4 friends he was sharing his tent with. Frustrated with everyone, he took off in one direction barefoot with no one to follow him. Everyone figured he would come back after spending some time by himself. But this was a terrible mistake that Nicky's friends made. After a couple of hours, his friends got scared and told the teachers, who immediately sensed something was wrong. A search party was formed quickly, consisting of the camp leaders, Nicky's parents, the Dutch police, and the city wardens from the Brunssum municipality. At this point, the townfolk of High Bloom and Brunssum displayed commendable behavior as they wholeheartedly joined the search along with the police and Nicky's parents. The camp leader shared grateful words for the townsfolk of High Bloom, saying, "If you see how the people helped us, it's incredible. I still get emotional thinking about it. 50, 60 people were on the Brunssummerheide. We sent a thank you letter to each one." But the town and village people were devoted and open to any contributions and support, much to Nicky's parents' relief. Village resident Annie Schoyen said, "Nicky was in my son's class. When other villagers came to our door asking if we would join the search in Brunssum, my husband and I didn't have to think twice." Despite a long and exhausting search, the search operation remained unyielded of any signs of the boy that day. Nicky's family started getting worried about where their son had vanished. However, the police officer Leo Leekstead said, "We've had cases where missing children were so scared by the commotion over their disappearance. With all the police and everything, out of fear of getting a scolding from their worried parents, they prefer to stay hidden where they are." His father said, "Nicky's no adventurer. He'd be terrified if he were alone here on the heath. Some say he ran away, others say he was taken. He wouldn't hitchhike. He's too scared for that. If you haven't heard from a boy like that for 2 days, something's wrong." The Dutch police arranged hunting dogs and mobile units, while the soldiers from nearby Afsan headquarters in Brunssum also volunteered, increasing the search party's depth to about 200 individuals. It was Tuesday, the 11th of August, 1 day since Nicky Verstappen had gone missing, when the search party discovered Nicky's corpse lying in a forest 1 kilometer away from the campsite. Nicky's murder was a profoundly shocking and remorseful moment for Nicky's parents and friends. Exhausted with sorrow, the town of Nicky started the preparations for the funeral of the innocent boy. His funeral was held on the SWH football field in his hometown on Saturday, the 15th of August, where the people paid an emotional farewell to the young child. On the other hand, the Dutch police commenced a full-scale investigation of the murder. Although the police only considered an initial report of the asphyxia on his body's condition, word soon started getting around that he was found in an abused and naked condition. Once they performed a DNA test of the body, the medical panel disclosed that Nicky's body had another set of DNA present which could not be extracted due to being in very little and fragmented quantity. However, the revelation opened the possibility of Nicky being abused before his murder. The police launched a proper interrogation based on the data that they collected from the crime scene. According to the police investigators, the culprit behind the murder of Nicky Verstappen was either from nearby towns or from the summer camp. Therefore, the camp attendees were questioned at the start. The camp leader, Sarah Bergsman, told the media, I was interrogated for a total of 18 hours. It can be quite intense. It's already hard to deal with, and then being grilled can make it even more difficult. I can understand why people might struggle with it. The police had a promising start, with people ready to talk to them regarding the matter. There was another interesting encounter on the night when the search operation was in full swing. A man was spotted crossing the area on his bike. When the investigators asked him where he was going, he said that he was heading to his home. Furthermore, he also refused that he had seen Nicky on his way back. This was confirmed later when the police revealed that the man actually lived with his mother in the vicinity of the murder area. However, this man was actually the piece that would soon complete the puzzling mystery of Nicky's murder. Now, the person who was the most suspected by the town members was Jose Barton, a camp leader of High Bloom. He was also attending the camp where Nicky vanished. The reason behind the looming suspicions was the involvement of Barton in a sexual abuse case in the 1950s, for which he was sentenced to 3 months in prison. Due to that factor, he was alone and cut off from the camp ever since, as he used to sleep alone in the camp. Suspicions arose when witnesses pointed out that he was awake early in the morning, around the time Nicky wandered out of the campsite. He also made suspicious comments during the search for Nicky. For example, at one point, he directly pointed over to the spot where Nicky's body was found and said, "They should search there." Interestingly enough, Nicky was found in that same place, branding Barton as a suspect. The police kept Barton under silent inspection for a long time. However, there was no solid evidence found that indicated that he was the culprit behind Nicky's abusive murder. In 2008, when the DNA traces were found on Nicky Verstappen's pajama bottoms, the police asked all the attendees of the camp to give a DNA sample voluntarily. Furthermore, the police also planned to take samples from 15,000 men residing in High Bloom at the time of Nicky's death to put an end to the extended search. At that time, Jose Barton had passed away, buried in a spot close to Nicky Verstappen. The police pursued the possibility of Barton's involvement one more time by digging up his grave and taking his DNA sample from the remains. However, the DNA traces found were not matched, relieving Barton as a suspect. The extensive DNA collection campaign finally yielded results in 2018 when the DNA samples on Nicky's body matched with a 55-year-old man named Jos Brech. Jos was involved with scouting organizations in Ireland and Nuth and was working in the children's playgroup in Brunssummerheide for several years. He too, like Barton, had been involved in a sexual abuse case, but unlike Barton's case, his was dismissed. However, the school where he worked said that they still received numerous calls from parents complaining about his suspicious activities. He was living in Simpelveld in 1998, close to the location where Nicky was found dead. The Dutch police became vigilant in pursuing the culprit, issuing an international arrest warrant for the fugitive. However, he had moved out of his house and did not return to his home when the police came by. His family indicated that he might be traveling to France at this time, after which the police tracked and located his whereabouts in a chalet in the Vosges region. Upon searching, the police found and seized a few items belonging to Brech from his residence. Further investigation from De Vries revealed a shocking truth about the night Nicky went missing. It was Jos Brech who was biking in the night when Nicky disappeared. Now, this discovery put a big question mark on the investigation by the authorities. Who had left such a person out of the investigation for 20 years? When in fact, summoned for interrogation several times, he was among the few people who had refused to provide their DNA samples. The former police officer Matt Shepkins, who was in charge of the investigation at the time, said, "The name Jos B means nothing to me and has never meant anything to me." In 2001, the police had once more come close to Jos Brech when he was called to answer questions twice after the police found out about his past sexual abuse charges. However, he got away again, although he gave a different explanation for his presence at the murder night from the one he had given 3 years earlier. After that, his file was shelved for about 10 years, and no one paid attention to the possibility of Jos's involvement until 2012, when Peter De Vries came into action. Peter De Vries launched a large-scale DNA collection in 2018 with the help of Dutch police, where they asked 15,000 people to deposit their DNA. Jos Brech was also absent from the scene like in the past, and his family refused to cooperate, which framed the suspicions of Peter and the police on Brech. After a challenging search for him and his whereabouts, the police finally got a trace of his few personal belongings in his residence, from where a DNA sample was collected. The sample was sent to the Netherlands Forensic Institute, where it gave an 100% match for the first time, confirming Peter's suspicions and resulting in an international warrant for Jos Brech. Jos Brech was finally apprehended on the 26th of August 2018 from a field 50 to 60 kilometers away from Barcelona. He was caught by the Spanish police, who reported that he was living in a tent at an abandoned house with several homeless people. According to Peter de Vries, who is assisting the Verstappen family, it depends on whether he agrees to the extradition. If he opposes it, a judge will have to decide. Any resistance could therefore lead to a delay. Brech was extradited to the Netherlands from Spain on the 12th of December 2018 after a long 4-month legal process. Upon trials and case proceedings in Jos Brech, he is confirmed to be the culprit behind Nicky Verstappen's murder, putting an end to the 22-year-long misery of Nicky's parents. He was sentenced to 16 years of prison on January 28, 2022 by the Dutch court. The prison sentence of Brech finally involved justice to Nicky's parents and community after a long wait of 22 years. However, one thing remains certain. The clumsiness shown by the police in the initial investigation was the main reason why the culprit kept slipping through the hands of the law. Had Jos Brech been interrogated and considered as a suspect seriously from the night he was found biking nearby, he would have been caught in a few days, giving immediate justice to Nicky's soul. But it was destined to be prolonged this much, turning the disappearance of Nicky Verstappen into one of the most extensive cold cases in the history of the Netherlands.